The mission today is to sharpen your swords and get you ready for battle. It's time to fine-tune your craft and make you the best in what you do. The mission is to equip you to help anyone purchase what they need. We'll share the best advice from the best in their industry. You'll be listening to a conversation you wish you had with the mentors you wish you had. Take what makes sense to you and makes you better in your career. You guys, Bruce Lee said it best. Absorb what is useful and discard what is not.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Commission Mission. My name is Eric Gervais.
Hey everybody, my name is Micah Henderson, and today on the show with us is an expert motorcycles, Chadillac.
Dude, the best name ever. I got to stop you right there. That's an incredible name. You win the contest for that.
It just kind of happened.
I had some at the previous dealership I worked with years ago. It's something that some of the guys that stay around there, and we were trying to look into a few years after that, we were trying to look into like ways we could like brand ourselves, because we were kind of got the go ahead to like attack social media from our end where we were at. And I just kind of thought maybe it might stick a little bit, and I kind of ran with it. It seemed kind of silly, but there's more than one, but there's only one me.
That's right. I see it. That's right. And there's only one you, and you cannot be replaced. Once you are seen as the professional, the expert in your field, there's no factory, there's no computer program that's ever going to replace you. So getting into motorcycles, did it just kind of naturally happen because you've always loved them, or?
Well, when I was a kid, I always loved them. My family somewhere's got pictures of me. Like, we didn't have bikes, but like my neighbors did. So it's like, where's Chad? And like 3 years old, they find me like crawling in the neighbor's garage and like playing on the motorcycles. But I actually didn't get my own first motorcycle till I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a passion I had. It's something, you grow up, you're watching, you're wishing. Your friends have them, you kind of ride a little bit, but it's just something that's grown over the years. And I think that's what's helped me in my career is total passion for what I do.
Yeah, you love what you do, and you never have to work a day in your life.
Exactly.
So 25 years of motorcycle experience, 9 years with Harleys. Something that I always hear when people talking about riding their bike, they just describe it in emotion. It's never just no, I just drove from here to there. It's always talking about the wind in their hair, talking about just the experience and love of riding.
Exactly.
When you're talking to somebody at your store and they're walking on the floor, how much do you use emotion in helping them purchase what they need to purchase?
I try to use emotion as much as humanly possible. It is an emotional experience. Of course, logic's going to play into it at some point, but budget and all that. But at the end of the day, emotion is everything, particularly with a Harley, because a Harley it's more than a motorcycle to so many people. I love all motorcycles, but I've been doing the Harley thing at the store level for like 9 years, 10 years, whatever it was. There's emotion. You always use emotion. I don't care what anybody says. There's always emotion with a Harley. Whether it be the first one, your 15th one. There's always going to be some type of emotion with that. And that's why I love that product. It's just, it's a lifestyle. It's it's an addiction.
Yeah. And knowing your product. Yeah. Of course, it's really important. And when you are a part of an organization, they have that structure and they have the education on the next years. And how important is it for you to always stay up on the newest?
Absolutely. Obviously, just to be able to present the product, just from the very base level, being able to stay up on it. But you got guests that'll come in and test you too, because they're going to work with a salesperson. They want to know if they're working with somebody knowledgeable. So they may have already read everything on the internet, which in today's day and age is entirely possible. And they probably know invoice on the doggone thing that you don't know. If you're in car sales, yes, definitely. But I've had them come in and test me out. Like, okay, this guy's he's good to go. Having that product up for anything. You got to know how to present your product and tailor your presentation to your guest needs. Yeah. So you got to be knowledgeable all the way. You've got to stay up on it, whether
and you're doing it on the fly. You don't know what type of person this is. Walking up to you that something that happened earlier on in my career is that I really came across a very analytical lady that would ask me the finest details, and until I was new at the time, so I got caught dead in my tracks.
Yeah,
and I just had to say, hey, I don't know that off the top of my head, but I know where to get it. You know, I'd like to get back to you. And this happened over like 6 meetings with this lady over a year's time, and ended up not buying anything from me. But now I have that. It's not that I'm necessarily analytical, but if I come across that person, I want to be able to explain even the finest details, to them.
Well, not only that, it's like you want to avoid what people call commission breath. You know, a lot of new salespeople, especially when they get into something and they're not familiar with the product and people start asking questions, they don't want to feel like they don't know or they're stupid or they're dumb. And so they start just making up questions. But like in your case where you say, especially in the case of a Harley, where people are doing research for probably sometimes years before they came and saw you. And so they know every single detail about that thing. And if you start making up or not knowing or acting like you don't know, they're going to think that you're just after a sale and not looking after their best interest.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, something that really made you stand out to me, that we met when I was doing the writing classes, and there's different periods in between the classroom sessions where I'm just walking around the floor looking at them, and I don't even know. I was like, am I allowed to even touch this? And am I allowed to? And just the way, the calm, cool, confident, like, I'm not here to pressure you, but I'm here if you need any questions answered. Approach that you had made me feel like that the opposite of commission breath. That I'm just here to help, and so that's the way to go. You do not want to have the commission breath where you look desperate, where you're just trying to force something on somebody. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, that I believe I was talking with you about it a couple weeks ago, was you ever heard of the power of silence?
Yes.
And so when you're talking to somebody and you've answered all their questions and you've addressed the what they're looking for, the budget and everything else, and you give that presentation and you just shut up and you leave the ball in their court for them to respond. Maybe you just did your closing line. Hey, if this is what you're looking for, all we need is a voided check and a driver's license to get this paperwork going.
Right.
I'm gonna lose. Okay, fine. I'll break the silence.
That is the hardest. It's like one of them gunfighter standoffs in the movies. Sometimes you're sitting there, you're waiting, and you're in the back of your mind, you're like, just pick up the pen.
Just pick up the pen.
Well, I'm hoping he's going to be one of our future guests. But there's a gentleman, Kirk Mcdowell, that is a mentor and a great friend of mine, and he was landmark trained forever, and just a really master of selling. And he wrote a book called Contribution Selling. And one of the things that he talks about in his book is that you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable a little bit longer than your clients can handle being uncomfortable. And it's not like you're using it to manipulate. Yeah. But what happens is, especially like when you, like a new speaker, right? Yeah. And let's say you're going on a show for the first time, you're doing your presentation for the first time. Your clock in your head is ticking so slow. Compared to the clock of the people watching you. So those little few seconds of silence to you feels like minutes, hours, and oh my goodness, where to them it doesn't. And so that practice of being a little bit uncomfortable and allowing your clients, potential
to think, mull it over,
to be a little bit more uncomfortable. As long as you can be comfortable with being uncomfortable a little bit longer than them, you'll get that sale.
Yes. But at the same time, you don't want the entire transaction to be uncomfortable.
No.
Just that moment.
Yeah, it should be a comfortable process up to that moment. And sometimes it's not that the guest is uncomfortable. Yeah. For some people, it is a very large decision. It is a very, especially in my world, it doesn't make sense to drop $30,000 on a motorcycle. Yeah. Logically, emotionally, for me, sure.
No brainer.
No brainer. Yeah, but for some people, it's like, I'm getting ready to make that move, and so they got to stop and they got to pause for a second. And sometimes, and I've seen this work once, and this was when I was in the car business. Short amount of time, don't hold anyway. I didn't do too well in the car business, but we're in the office. We're closing. I can't get the guy to do anything. And I'm a young guy at this point. I've been in any kind of big vehicle sales maybe 2 months, so I'm really, really green. And so we do the TO, we do the turnover. The sales manager comes in, Ron, and I will never forget this. And they're just kind of sitting there in the silence. And neither one of them would go. And I'm just like, how does this work? And finally, Ron broke. But there was a time, because you got to have that report. He said, the guy's got the pencil in his hand. He said, just put it on the paper. I'll move the paper. We'll get this done. And the guy just finally cracked up and signed. But that's, like I said, that's probably the exception to the rule. But I mean, at some point, somebody's got to do something, but you got to do it just right.
If I ever use that one and it works, I'll let you know. I'll text you. I'm like, I moved the paper. Like said, literally,
you got to be right there with it. I mean, you got to have that kind of reported. Dude, I've seen. Just little crazy little things. Like that.
So little things like that, and
or nowadays with technology, it's just hold the mouse and I'll move the pad around.
Yeah.
But little tricks of the trade that can make the difference in between making that sale and not, and paying your bills and not. That there's a lot of people that need to hear them, and that's what we're getting to them now. Let's talk about objections. So what are some common objections that you hear? And I have a feeling, because the way that we're really approaching the show is that there are certain universal truths that, whether you're selling a bike or a yacht or a policy or a property, that you're always going to see some objections, right? What are some that may apply just to your industry, or probably apply to all industries that you hear a lot?
I think objections are in every sale. It's objections, and that's our job as sales professionals, to learn how to overcome them and find out if it's a true objection or if it's just a reflex, what I would call a reflex style objection. Or if it's an actual condition of the sale. And that's something we talk about a lot at my job, or my current, where I'm at now. Is it truly objection, or is it really a condition? The guest absolutely has to have money down. The guest has no money down. When he says, at that point, and you've done everything in your power, co-sign, then it becomes a condition. So you got to learn,
because they really want it, but they really don't have money in the bank account.
So at that point, that's a condition. Now, a lot of people will tell you that, but you got to learn how to keep overcoming to find out whether it's the true, no, I don't have any money to put down, or no, I absolutely do not. So you got to, in my opinion, you got to find a way to overcome and keep going, and just, you got to confirm it, because people, you just got to.
Everybody wants the best deal.
Everybody wants the best deal, So I'm not saying everybody, buy. There's always a little saying, but you got to work for it. And you got to learn. Make sure you've overcome everything. Because always, if they're not buying, there's always something. In my case, we call it the man, the money, or the machine. And what are you objecting to? Are you objecting to this payment? You objecting to the bike? Or am I not the right guy? Did I not do my job well enough for you to? So and that's what you got to figure out in your head by their objections, what it really is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because if they walked in to, there's some level of interest if they're there
every time,
right?
Absolutely.
And so just like with me, if somebody called me asking about something, there's some level of interest for some level of financial planning or some insurance product. So what is it specifically? I've in my experience, if you can get past the third objection, it's normally pretty smooth after that, because you could see at that point whether it is just like a smoke screen, or if they're nervous to pulling the trigger, or maybe they really do need to talk to the missus.
There are some that do, and there are some we all know that use it as an excuse. I know guys that will go in preloaded to a car lot with, hey, I got to call the wife. They got 5 excuses in their head before they get out, and they do that. People do that because they feel like they're going to be pressured. And that's like we was talking.
Well, a lot of people just don't understand negotiating, and they get nervous around it, and they think that they have to attack, and they've seen some movies and they've watched some TV shows on how it's gone, and they try and mimic and do those tricks and tactics. But one of the things that I found in real estate that helps me kind of avoid that whole mess is just start looking for win-wins, right?
Yes.
So if you find out what your client really wants, what they really want, and what makes sense to them, what's not out of their budget, what they can afford, what makes sense to them, then the amount of objections you receive when you're starting to build something that's around what they want and not what you want. Hey, I want this big commission. I want this. When we start putting together packages around our wants is when we start seeing a lot of objections. But when we can show that we're there to help them,
yes,
and serve them, and coming from a place of service, then the objections, in my experiences, tend to gone way down. They're either a client or they're not at that point.
Yeah.
And then another thing that I've found that to be really helpful with that is little action steps, right? So how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So if you're looking at someone that's about to drop $30,000, they need a down payment. That's a big elephant that they're about to bite. So let's give them something small that they can say yes to right now.
Exactly. You got to lead them. You got to lead them to the.
Yep. And the more little small things that we can do, and especially if it involves an action on their part that they have to take. If they keep taking those actions, and taking those steps towards that goal, then you got a serious client on your hands. And when they start to pull back and resist, then that's their point, and it kind of helps guide you on how much attention, time, and effort to put into.
Sometimes pulling back and resisting is the best indicator I have of knowing that I'm right there doing my job. They're starting to, oh my gosh, I'm getting ready to buy this thing.
This might be real. Yeah.
This might be real. And then okay, then I'm look again. You're always on the hunt for that objection, and welcome it, because if you can isolate the stuff early, whether it be through your just an initial rapport building phase, where you think that you're going to go and you direct your conversation, it's just so much easier when you get to the closing part.
Yeah,
it is, and then just you got to just bring out there to a point where it makes sense to them. It's all
I went through a lot of sales training when I was doing copier sales, and that's real cutthroat business and no margin kind of stuff, and I went to a Dale Carnegie sales training course, and they teach you a lot about objections, how to handle them and cushion them. And one of my favorite responses, this is a gold nugget that it came to me and that I love to use and try and figure out how to use every single time I hear it, is someone tells me they can't do something. One of the responses to that was, well, that's exactly why you should. And if you can solve that problem, if someone gives you the answer and says, I can't do it for this reason, and you can figure out why that reason they can't do it is the exact reason they should, boom, they buy instantly.
Man,
I like that.
It's difficult to do a lot. Yeah,
but I mean, just
think about that.
The little,
and so I'm applying that to something I do. So if you want to talk about life insurance and the reason why they can't do it is because their family can't afford it. Well, that's exactly why you need to do it. If you can't afford $50 a month, what's going to happen when you pass? What's going to happen to your family? Is there any other way that they're going to come into $1 million?
Right.
Well, the reason why you can is exactly the reason why you should. So I'll be using that a lot of times. I'm learning right alongside our viewers that
I do a lot of work on the personal development side, and coach and things like that. And one of the things that we, what did you just say? You just said something that triggered this, and now I just lost it.
I mean, just applying your, the reason why you can't is the reason why you should to something that I do. And
So that's what I was talking about. It's like, especially people that have kids, right? So there's a lot of times that we tell our kids, you can do whatever you want. You follow your dreams. You can be whatever you want, do whatever you want. And yet we're not doing that. So kids don't do what we tell them to. They do what they see us do, right?
Yeah, right.
And so a lot of times we don't go after our dreams because we feel like, oh, I've got kids. I've got a mortgage. I've got these bills I got to pay. I can't go chase that thing. But that's the exact reason you should, right?
I will
go do that because you want to demonstrate to your kids
you can
that
go
you
after your
can do
dreams.
that.
Yeah, you can.
So
that's
deep.
That's deep. That's way deep.
Yeah. I didn't know we were getting philosophical today.
This is spun off into a whole nother.
I'm gonna find something.
The book of quotes.
I'll find something clever to come back
Pulling
to that.
out all the stops today.
Well, I like what you were talking about. Being of service and everything.
Yeah.
That's something I waver on that sometimes. I mean, I'm human and everything. Everybody has good days, bad days at the store, at the office, or whatever. But and I actually have it written on my mirror at home when I'm getting ready in the morning. A few phrases that I try to say to myself. But one of them, be grateful, be humble, be of service. And then I got this. She was my sales manager, general sales manager. Now she's the general manager at the dealership I work. She keeps a little sign on her desk that says, "Find a way to say yes." Find a way to say yes. So I think if you keep those in your mind at all times when you're dealing with whatever, when you're handling, if you keep that somewhere in your mind, you're going to be successful.
The right
like
mindset.
I said, you got it, and it's not something that you do it once. It's something you have to practice
live
and
it.
do on a daily basis till it becomes habit, and then it carries over into everything you do.
Yeah.
I think, and like I said, you got to stay on.
Oh, it definitely does, because
Yeah, you got the right mindset. If you're thinking about that.
I'm a huge.
what we resist persists, and so the more that we can take steps towards what we want and creating that, and my wife, she's a big vision boards. We've got visions of everything around.
Right.
There was I wrote a thing out called My Life Vision, where I wrote it in the present tense, right? And it was and it started off like the entire universe is acting in my favor. It's like, everything that I want to do, my dreams are all coming true. But I wrote it at a time when I had eviction notices on my door. I had a negative bank account.
Right.
I didn't know what I was doing. But what was crazy about it is I wrote this and then I recorded it, right? So in my head, the voice that stops me from making sales, that tells me I'm not good enough, all that stuff is constantly running, and it's really loud, and it's all the time. So, but it's my voice. It sounds like me talking, right? So if I figured to quiet that down, I needed my voice telling me how amazing my life was. And so I recorded it so I could put it on headphones and blast it, right? And so anytime I felt weird or anything, I put that on. Well, what was crazy, without any change of anything, I didn't take any major actions or massive actions in any particular direction. A few years later, I was in a new situation, and I was sitting there, and a friend of mine came and asked me for help. And we started talking about this vision, and I suggested to him doing the same. And so I brought mine out as an example to him. And what was really powerful about it was, this was 3 years later. I'm reading this thing, and every single thing that I had written down was in my life.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't look how, when I envisioned it, when I wrote it, it didn't look like that. It didn't show up like that in my life. But once I started to read and see what was in my life and how it was there, I was like, oh my God.
You achieved it.
It was all there. And it didn't take any extra effort on my part, but those reminders on on your mirror that you can do, anything that you can put in your daily consciousness every single day, it really starts to move you in that direction.
Here in the last several months, I've started listening to a lot of Andy Frisella and a lot of his stuff, and I'm a huge fan of that. And he talks about his list and power list and just gratitude, like we were talking about, everything in him. And I'm also I follow a lot of Gary Vee, and everything in that is almost the exact.
Who was just talking about him? Was it Cody?
Yeah, and that's almost the exact same kind of thing, especially when you go back to the gratitude thing again too, and everything. And I think everybody that's in this type of business or market that is successful, that they have that type of mentality of the gratitude, of the vision, of the service, and seeking their and help. And I think, I don't know. I don't know.
And I noticed I noticed a huge shift in my career.
Absolutely.
Like performance wise, when I used to, before a big meeting, before a big sale, before a big presentation, was like, please, 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 come on. I need this. I need this. I need this.
Yes.
Now thank you for this. Before I go into it, thank you for this. Thank you for this. So I'm already grateful for the thing before it even happens, and it starts showing up and happening way more often than the please, 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 please. I feel like when I was please praying, I was pushing it away from me. When I was being grateful to it, I was drawing it towards me.
I've gone so far as to actually just in my head just be grateful for the one I missed, and because that may be the first guy I talked to that probably nobody could have closed, but I got 20 minutes to warm up. So when the next guy came in the door. I was on point. I was ready for that second swing at somebody who actually was truly
interested.
Or not. I wouldn't say interested. Everybody's interested, but somebody truly in a position to where they were ready to pull that trigger.
Yeah.
And I was to be able to be my most effective to make that deal. So you'd be grateful. Some of this is the smallest, dumbest things. You can be grateful for, and
that's a great way to take rejection. I mean, it's not really rejection to you as a person. It's just they weren't in the position to pull that trigger for whatever reason. But you always hear all the no's that you hear. You're one more, closer to a yes. Yeah. Right. And so hearing that, and you're like, well, I warmed up, and now the next guy walking up is actually able to.
But one of the things
sword for battle, right? You got to be ready.
Sharpened.
You got to be sharpened. Sometimes you got to warm it up. Just like like when you go to seriously, like when you go to the gym or you do anything else, the ones who perform best in the gym, they warm up. Right? Yeah. So if you can get up in the morning somehow, and whether it be hopefully you're not warming up with that first guest, but it's always nice to get the first one out of the way. And like I said, just be grateful for it. But if you can get up in the morning and warm it up with some affirmations or just some positivity or just some training, mental coaching before you get to work, your mind's in that mindset to go out and attack that day. And again, something I'm learning as I go too. It's a process, and I don't think it's something that's learned overnight. I think everybody goes through their ups and downs on it as well too. So,
and that helped me separate the personal, like taking rejection and no's personally, was to remember it's just energy, right? Yeah. So everything's energy, and if my energy and your energy aren't connecting, then there's not going to be a sale. But if the next person walks in and we are connecting, so that's why for me it was so important. Like it was more important for me during an ad campaign or marketing campaign for me to be happy and in a good mood than it was for me to make 50 phone calls. Exactly. Because if I make 50 phone calls in a shit mood, I'm going to get shit results, right? So what you put in, you get out. And so I started, what was crazy was like things would be going nuts and the phone would be ringing off the hook, but I would be nervous and feeling like less than in that moment. So for me, what picks me up like nothing is go-karting.
Okay.
So I would actually stop racing. I would go-karting to a little indoor go-karting track, come back, woo, and now I'm answering phones.
Yeah.
It's a bunch different.
Your energy, your vibration is way up.
That's me with my motor. Honestly, with my bike. I ride to work every morning, weather permitting that I can. But that's something that gets my adrenaline going, my little charge for the day.
Up.
Yeah, or one of the beauties of my job is when you're not having the greatest of days, or maybe it's just been whatever reason your head's in a funk. I'm going on a test ride, or a joy ride we call it. And at the end of the day, hopefully you're taking a guest with you too. It's like, I know you're not here. Just come on, grab a bike, let's go for a ride.
Right.
Let me get me out of the store for 15 or 20 minutes. And who knows, you may score a sale, but at the same time, I got that couple minutes.
It's a pick-me-up, though.
It's a little pick-me-up. It kind of gets you through your day. I mean, we all go through it. I mean, it's you got to love your job, and we're all human. Some days it's a grind, and some days it's wonderful. If you get a chance to step away for a second, you can come back in with your head a little clearer. Yeah. That's me. I don't know. It's stuff I learned too. It's not like I picked this up 9 years ago and been applying. Heck no, a lot of it I've been applying for the last 9 months. So it just
but no, I think that's everyone. I think I think that's human nature. I think it's natural to let a lot of no's bring you down, and if you can do something, whether it is affirmations, a bike ride, or whatever it is, to come back in refreshed, so that phone isn't quite as heavy as it was a second ago. It's not as difficult to dial that number.
And what's awesome too is like if you don't have the opportunity to go to a go-kart track, or if you don't have the opportunity to hop on a motorcycle, another thing I used to do all the time was I would just people watch and make up whatever conversations that they were having. Like I would try and get, and sometimes the conversation that you're having really matches what's going on. It's really funny, but it's a way to lighten you up and make you smile. But I found that was probably one of the biggest turning points in my career as far as performance and results went, was when I started employing gratitude beforehand. Yes. And those other things that we just talked about.
So when we have that approach of the attitude of gratitude and of service, I think it's a lot easier for you to click with somebody for your vibrations to match to lead to that sale, because people subconsciously they're picking up on this. Sure. And you're like, I'm not a pressure guy, and because I wouldn't like a pressure a salesman coming at me, that's really going to push me away. But so now that you have built that trust and rapport, and somebody sign on that line, and you've really kind of built a relationship with that someone. Have you had repeat business from this? And then they're only going to come to Chadillac. They are not going to go.
I have a couple. I have one that stands out. I have a guest in West Kentucky. She bought 2 motorcycles from me at my previous dealership. Yeah. And then I come to Florida, and she's come down here, and they brought friends and everything, and she's made it very apparent.
Well, I have to say,
her and her husband, that this is going to be the only place they're going to come see me is down here, which I am grateful for. I mean, I don't expect that out of anybody. I expect every sale to earn every sale. I don't. It's not a hey, I sold you 1 bike, I'm going to get to say your next 10. No, I got to earn what I got.
And you really helped yourself out with your branding of yourself with Chadillac, because who is not going to, someone that buys a Harley from Chadillac is always going to come back and get a Harley from Chadillac.
In a perfect world, yes, that's what I hope for.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. My point is that you've given yourself that advantage.
I try,
by doing by a simple step of branding and adding that memorable experience. Because like I'm telling you, when I told my wife that you were coming on the show today, and she said, "Who's your guest?" I said, "Chadillac." She was like, "Ah!" Like it lit her up, you know. And then she goes, "Does he like sell cars?" Yeah, right. And I was like, "Harleys." And oh my God, that was even better. So it sticks. It remembers. Because like my best friend growing up, his name was Chad, and his nickname was Chadillac. That's what we called him all the time. And it's you don't forget that.
No, it sticks around. You know, it does.
So while we're wrapping it up today, and I thanks again for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
You know, sharing a little wisdom that there's somebody out there that you're really going to click with and vibe with, and they're going to like the way you put something, and it's going to make them a little bit more successful and in their ideal career, living their best life. Is there anything that we didn't go over that was very impactful for you? You mentioned a couple people you listened to, maybe a book that you read that really helped you. Is there any cause that you want to mention? Or
as far as the people, like I said, I listen to a lot of Andy Frisella, Gary Vee. I'm getting ready to start 75 Hard. If you know of the Andy Frisella stuff, that's like I'm reading the book right now, and that's for me mentally. But we were talking about it a little bit earlier, talking about some causes and whatnot. You asked me where I'm from in Kentucky, because that's where I'm originally from, Western Kentucky. I'm actually from a little town called Mayfield that's pretty big on the national news right now. A lot of people lost their homes, their lives. A lot of stuff going on there, and they really could use some thoughts and prayers. I mean, there are you guys. I've told a few people that y'all get to watch it unfold on the national news. I open up my social media every day, and I watch my friends' lives destroyed, and trying to figure out how to put it back together. People down here, they
gives me goosebumps, man.
Yeah, they understand it. From Michael, the people that were here during Michael, I'm sure they understand what I'm talking about a little bit. So, any prayers or thoughts y'all can send up there to Western Kentucky, or there were several other states too, but West Kentucky's my heart, my home. To those guys. My daughter lost her home. Everybody's up there dealing with FEMA. But it's amazing to watch a community come together, because people from even down here are starting to send stuff in, and I'm hoping more people can do that and find some organizations. And I'm working on. With Spotty service and everything coming out, I'm trying to figure out who the best to send things to, and
for we have best results.
Yes. I have a nonprofit outreach, and so what we'll do for our listeners out there, if anybody does want to help or contribute, we'll put a donation link on our website. At livingthatcommissionlife.com.
Okay.
And anybody that wants to help and donate, and we'll just forward all those funds to y'all. And
all right, we'll get some folks set up on the other end. But I appreciate that. They would appreciate that. Like I said, they're just. It's the temperatures. It's wintertime up there, so the people that's still without heat and power and homes, especially for a while they were out there in it. It's kind of crazy. The national parks up there have all opened up their resorts to people
like
that
tents and trailers.
Just to get people who don't have family to stay with. But anything, get up there and we'll try to see what we can figure out on that. And,
whenever we actually get the funds in to the outreach, I'd love to give you a call and ask you what are your people seeing that is actually putting results in their lives, not necessarily the bigger organizations that one would think. But no, I any way that we can help, that we definitely understand that from a couple years back, us going through it. So
appreciate that.
Well,
they'll appreciate that
again, Chadillac. I appreciate your time.
Hey,
appreciate it, Chadillac.
This is awesome, man. It's great.
Very nice meeting you.
It's always a good time.
Always good times, man. Thanks.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming on the Commission Mission. See you next time. I always go back to certain universal truths that it doesn't matter what exactly you're helping somebody purchase, that people to people, face to face sales have so much in common no matter what the product is. And today's episode with Chadillac is just proves that. And going from some of the technical aspects of the power of silence or objections or building relationships to major concepts of affirmations or telling yourself, manifesting your reality. just getting in the right attitude and some good sources of that. I think it
And
was a great episode.
my favorite takeaway, because like you mentioned, with all the gold nuggets that we got with objections and how to handle certain things,
Fundamentals, yeah.
anybody can do that. But the one thing that really stood out to me today was the fact that Chadillac, the branding that he did, which made himself unique. It made himself memorable. It made his, it brings joy when you say the name Chadillac. You can't say that name without smiling, but that, a lot of times when people are starting out or they're struggling, they start to try and mimic something else and they lose themselves. So
you got to be unique.
Be unique. Be yourself. That is your most valuable asset that you have.
Yeah, because you can't
no one else has
replaced.
it.
Yeah, you can't be replaced. You are the only you, and when you are comfortable in your own skin and you have established yourself as the expert in what you do, you cannot be replaced. You can't be replaced by any AI, any computer program. You are unique, and you provide that service to your people that you take care of.
Yes, well, thank you so much, y'all. We appreciate you tuning in to the Commission Mission. Join us next week for our next episode.
See you next time, guys. Thanks. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Commission Mission. It is our mission to increase your commission. If you got any gold nuggets out of the episode today, make sure you don't miss any more. Click, like, subscribe, whatever that action is for the platform that you're watching this on. Make sure you don't miss any more good nuggets, and help us help you.
Yeah, one of the things that new or struggling entrepreneurs struggle with is asking for the sale, asking for what you need, and they're afraid of rejection. But I'll give you a sample of that exactly right now. Is if this helped you in any way, please share this with 3 friends of yours, 3 people that you think would benefit from what was discussed on these podcasts. And
friends in sales, anyone in your organization that can benefit from this needs to hear it. Thanks, everybody.